What's up, everybody? It's Jason Cruz once again with another edition of the Legal Submission, and once again we are talking about another boxing lawsuit, and this one is coming up to trial in the middle of May in federal court in Iowa, of all places. So this lawsuit involves up-and-coming boxer James "Boots" Ennis and his promoter Victory Boxing Promotions and Chris Middendorf. The whole dispute centers around who is the rightful promoter, and we will get into that right now. This lawsuit with James "Boots" Ennis is basically about who is the rightful promoter for the boxing. So Chris Middendorf owns and operates Victory Boxing Promotions. He claims that Ennis signed a promotional agreement with him in April 2016 that lasts until April of this year, 2021. Middendorf claims that the defendants, which are Ennis, his father, and the Duncan brothers, knew that Victory Boxing was the promoter and worked along with Middendorf on behalf of the boxer, the 23-year-old. But in November 2018, Middendorf said that Ennis and his manager, Cameron Duncan, did not further work with Middendorf about obtaining Ennis's next fight. Instead, they basically walked away from the relationship. Now, on the other end, the 23-year-old boxer claims that Duncan was his manager in 2016 and then became his promoter in 2019. He claims that Middendorf acted both as manager and promoter and signed boxers to Victory Boxing Promotions. Middendorf put Joseph Duncan down as the promoter to circumvent the Muhammad Ali Boxing Act, where the rule which states that an individual cannot act as manager and promoter of a fighter. He also claims he had little involvement with the promotion, inferring that Middendorf was doing something not legal. Ennis claims that Middendorf knew of Cameron Duncan's contract arrangement when Ennis signed a promotional agreement in 2016. And so there was no informal arrangement as to how the payments would be allotted with the fighter and the fighters that were signed. So it's worthy to note here that $426,000 of Ennis's payments from his pro fights thus far are actually in escrow. Another interesting thing to note in the promotional rights agreement that was signed by Ennis in 2016 was the fact that the promoter was actually paying him a stipend per month for the first 3 years of the agreement, in addition to signing bonuses, the first one being $45,000 to basically attract him to sign with the promoter. So the issue here, of course, is the old manager versus promoter conundrum, the dispute between the Duncan brothers, Ennis's father, and Chris Middendorf. So Victory Boxing was owned by Chris Middendorf, and it appears that there was some sort of relationship between the Middendorf, the Duncan brothers, and maybe perhaps Ennis's dad. And it seems as though that fell out, the relationship. And the problem being here is that there was no real structure as far as how that relationship was going to particularly work. It does look like in 2018, Duncan switched from manager to promoter, and then that's how he became according to Ennis, the de facto promoter for the young boxer. The issue here, of course, is the issue that we always see tend to see in the sport, is that the boxer-manager relationship is almost transfers all the time, meaning that a manager can promote and a promoter can manage. The issues in the lawsuit probably will reveal to us that at some point, Victory Boxing was signing on boxers, even though it was promoting fights. it was signing on boxers to manage. And according to Middendorf, it was Duncan's brother that was the de facto promoter, while while Middendorf was signing on boxers. That's at least the allegation. And so it sounds like Ennis, the Duncan brothers, and his father were claiming that there was never a real promotional agreement with Middendorf for Victory Boxing, and that when Ennis signed on with Duncan for his own boxing promotion, that was the true promoter. Now there's a lot of issues here, but obviously the basic issues are: who is the promoter? One, and that's what the complaint is requesting, a declaratory judgment to find out who is the promoter. And as a result of that, there's also an attorney's fees provision, which is pretty big here because it determines who will have to pay attorney's fees, and whoever loses will be the one to bear that cost. So there is big money on the line, because the attorney's fees could actually exceed the actual amount in controversy, depending on what Middendorf claims he had lost as a result of the alleged breach of contract. So what happens next? Both parties have been filing the pretrial pleadings, voir dire questions, pretrial statement, their trial briefs, things that would suggest that a trial will happen in mid-May. Obviously, there are issues that the parties could probably hash out, and maybe a last-minute settlement can occur. Right now, a couple weeks out from trial, there is probably a lot of posturing going on as to who has the leverage here in the case. It would seem that Middendorf is, with his breach of contract claim against Ennis, might prevail if there is a valid contract. Now, obviously, the argument will be that Middendorf was circumventing the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act as a result of signing boxers and promoting fights. That could nullify the actual contract, which might be one of the claims here by Ennis. Middendorf is also claiming tortious interference on behalf of Ennis's father, as well as the Duncan brothers, because of the alleged, move to them as promoters of Ennis. That could happen as well. It would seem a little more harder to persuade the court as far as that, unless there's damning evidence that is presented out in court. So we will track this in the next couple of weeks, because if this goes to trial, it'll be interesting to see how the pieces fall. It's once again another promoter versus boxer versus manager lawsuit in boxing. We will continue to follow. Jason Cruz, The Legal Submission. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me along at MMA Payout and The Legal Submission. Have a good day, guys.